I am on a mission. We've been changing some things up in drafts as of late, and honestly, I think we've been coming away with better rosters overall, but we'll get to that in 1 second. The mission we are on is we need to get in as many fantasy football drafts as possible. Y'all know I said I was going to try to max this out. The max entrance that you can have for these puppy drafts is going to be 150. They launched this, 2 weeks ago? There have been almost 100,000 people entered. By the time you're watching this video, probably 100,000 people have already kicked off these drafts. So I'm going to have to pick up the pace. I'm going to have to stop drafting 5 of these a night, and we are going to have to fly through these drafts. So hopefully we can get a decent amount going tonight. I don't know if we can do another 4 draft live stream. We will hop in here right now. It looks like this draft room is going to be full. Let me slide this up and let me pull up the chat. We have the 102. So it looks like we're going to get Cooper Kupp coming in. Mr. Cooper Kupp with that nice contract. And then at the 2-3 turn, this is where we've been mixing up our strategy a little bit. Honestly, I've been more comfortable with these drafts. But let's see if we have anybody a part of the flock actually out here. So it looks like we have not too many people. This is great. I usually hate drafting against the people in the live stream because y'all are pretty damn good at this. It makes my team worse. It sucks. But if I get to go up against some randoms, sign me up. Sign me up. Okay, so let's go through. Let me set up this live chat. I see we have a ton of people out here already. Thank you, of course, for everybody coming out. And if you have not done so already, please drop a like on the live stream. You know exactly what I'm going to ask for. But thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope I am able to provide you some entertainment tonight. And I hope that you're able to hop in one of these drafts with me. Okay, so let's just prepare Cooper Kupp. Now, if they take Kupp at 1, we will go Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor goes, so we're going to fire up Cooper Kupp here in the first. Like I said, outside of Jonathan Taylor, we are going wide receivers over Christian McCaffrey now. I think that we are taking Kupp at 2. We are taking Jefferson at 3. We are taking Chase at 4. Not necessarily because I think that Justin Jefferson is a better option in fantasy drafts than Christian McCaffrey. But because once we get to that 2-3 turn, once we get to the 4-5 turn, we are going to find that the running backs in that range are much better values than the wide receivers. Okay, so let's go through. And let me start reading out some of these messages. I'm sorry for just not getting this. I'm trying to set everything up on the back end. CMC does indeed go at pick 4. Scooby may be on auto draft. Okay, that may have been an auto pick. If it was, good. We want auto drafters in here. We want them possibly just taking a bum roster. That way they can donate to the league pot and we don't have to worry about paying the rake for this draft. So hopefully Scooby's out here auto drafting. Maybe you had to go to dinner. Who knows? I will say, before you join any draft on Underdog, I've talked about this before. Make sure you're going to be able to stick around, because if you auto draft, just say 10% of your drafts, at every 10 drafts, one of them you have to leave halfway through. You have a very small probability of ever becoming a profitable drafter if that's going to be the case. If you are auto drafting even just 10% of them, that's real tough. Andrew says, was fun having a few drafts with you yesterday. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the Dynasty channel where we did some Dynasty rookie drafts. Maybe you were just in some drafts with us in the public lobby. And Chris says 101 in all the way from Puerto Rico. Thank you, my man. Of course, Chris out here every single night. Brett's out here all the time. Noah Sofuego, I've seen him out more and more as of late. Garrett, Yimo, Caden. Of course, Caden's out here. Fantasy Football Clown Show out here, my man. I felt bad for your video earlier today. Jake says, hey, nice job on the Fantasy Pros pod. Thank you, my dude. I appreciate it. Okay, so Andrew says I drafted with you earlier today. Yeah, earlier today, I had a nice little stretch of drafts. I think I probably did 6 drafts this morning, but like I said, I am trying to fire up as many of these as I possibly can. Okay, so the team at the turn here takes both Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. This is something we probably need to take note of. We probably need to, I don't want to say you reach on Kyle Pitts in the 3rd, because I think we will have some fine running back value making it to us. But Barkley goes at pick 15. Very rarely are you seeing Saquon Barkley go here. It makes sense, though, if this team, Chuck, wants to go through and create a unique build for this tournament, because Saquon Barkley, almost exclusively goes at the 2-3 turn. Devontae Adams almost exclusively goes at the 1-2 turn. So it does make sense if they want to go out there and create that unique build. So technically they're reaching on ADP, but you're not going to be that surprised if Saquon Barkley ends up outscoring DeAndre Swift this season. Andrew says, was drafting with you last night in some puppy lobby drafts. Yeah, we didn't live stream these drafts last night, but like I said, guys, we are trying to fire up as many of these as possible. Aaron Jones goes at pick 18. Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb here in the middle of the second round. So I think our strategy is going to be just fine. I mean, there haven't been too many surprises that we need to adjust for. Let's just see what kind of value we get coming back to us. And I've talked about this before, but at the 2-3 turn, one of my old targets actually used to be T. Higgins. Like I used to go out there, AJ Brown. T. Higgins is someone I'm still drafting. I just read that name out loud. But AJ Brown used to be someone I was taking here quite often. Now, the issue with taking AJ Brown here now is you have no shot at ever getting Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts used to make it to the end of the 6th round sometimes. Now that never happens. So it is harder for me to go through and take AJ Brown knowing that we have no possibility at all of getting Jalen Hurts. Okay, so I'm assuming we are just going to grab... Okay, no, Kamara goes. Should we take Fat Lenny or should we go T. Higgins, knowing that Sheet can't go back-to-back running backs here and we could get Nick Chubb on the way back around? They can go back-to-back running backs, but I would be very surprised. Let's go ahead and let's just take T. Higgins here at pick 23. Let's see if they go... No, they go A.J. Brown. That's what I thought. Very rarely you're going to see the Jonathan Taylor team go back-to-back running backs. It's just extremely difficult to pull it off. I mean, I think you could easily make the argument that Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb are better values than A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen. But from a roster construction standpoint, it is tough. So we are going to go ahead. We are going to take Fat Lenny here at the beginning of the 3rd round. Not too worried about him. And I say Fat Lenny sarcastically because the man was probably in better shape at 12 years old than I could ever dream to be in my entire life. Okay. So Freddie says, I'd love to be in a draft with you. Oh my man. I cannot wait to tell you how you can do just that. And I know you've probably heard it before. I know everybody in this live stream's heard it before, but you're about to hear it again. If you want to get into some drafts with us, if you want to go get into real money fantasy football drafts today, make sure you go to the link in the description, the link in the live chat, the link in the comment section. That's to Underdog Fantasy, where we are drafting, where we draft every single day. We live stream every single day these drafts as well because they're so much fun. But when you go and sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get my 2022 rankings, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, our 2022 Dynasty rankings. You'll get a 100% deposit match right away. And I will say, I need to clarify this because we've had a lot of confusion, people reaching out to me on Twitter, Instagram. So when you sign up and you use promo code FLOCK with the link in the description, you are going to automatically get that 100% deposit bonus that hits your account that second. But the rankings in the draft guide, that's going to come about an hour later with a welcome email from Underdog. So you're going to have to check your email for that stuff, okay? Because I know some people have been DMing me on Twitter, says, I never got the rankings. And then they DM me an hour later and go, okay, never mind, Mason, please ignore that. I am live coming out. It says Leonard Fournette over Nick Chubb, ? Yes, big reason is if I'm going to be doing hundreds of these drafts and Leonard Fournette usually goes here at pick 21, 22, and Nick Chubb is always a 3rd round pick. Like at this point, Nick Chubb's going to be one of my most drafted running backs. And it pains me to say that because y'all know I have been fading the hell out of Nick Chubb for God knows how long. And oh my gosh, C-Web out here trying something new. They go with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson here at the turn. Dear God, I will say, well, yeah, technically you're going to have a unique team. It is damn near impossible. I can't see a situation where a team like that has the ceiling, specifically in the playoff tournament, to go out there and win the 75. Like, I don't think you have a shot. I know people have posted that team before. I've seen it. Usually you can kind of wait on Lamar. Oh, that is tough. I know you're getting the stack, but It pissed me off a little bit because, of course, I was wanting to get Lamar Jackson coming back to us at the 4-5 turn, but it is what it is. Y'all know I like my guy Lamar. Caden says, who's your lowest share in this second round? Off the top of my head, I would honestly probably say DeAndre Swift, because in the majority of drafts, DeAndre Swift's going before Mike Evans, going before Aaron Jones, going before Deebo Samuel. Very rarely am I taking DeAndre Swift there. I've talked about that before. I mean, but with Swift, the issue is, yeah, I love drafting him last year, but he was in a better situation last year. His situation was legitimately better. His target competition was Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. And we didn't even know if Amon-Ra St. Brown was going to be any good. Of course, now we know that he is very, very good. But that wasn't the case going into last season when I was so excited about drafting DeAndre Swift in the 3rd and 4th round. We had him on every must-draft running back video. Took him as really our only running back in the $1,000 league we did last year, and that worked out quite well. But I'm not going to be paying a higher price point for the same player in a worse situation. Okay. If y'all watch the channel a lot, y'all know who I want to make it to us. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if it happens. Terry McLaurin goes. We get George Kittle. I like taking Kittle here at the 4-5 turn regardless, but especially when we see the team at the very end of the first double up on Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. Inherently, I think that is going to push up tight ends, given there's one team that doesn't have access to one of those elite level players now. So there's going to be an extra team that has to draft 3 of them rather than 2, and it's going to be a priority for them. So let's get Kittle. I think this gives us the option to possibly only have to draft 2 tight ends. And later on, we are going to be looking for the stacks with Lance, Burrow, Stafford, or Brady. Like, we have quarterbacks in the range that we want to be going after. Okay, so I believe he does stack A.J. Brown with Jalen Hurts. It's, in my opinion, it's so tough to reach on stacks this far. I understand that Jalen Hurts does have the rushing upside, but I don't know about that. Okay, so I know most people would want us to go Allen Robinson. That way we can set up the double stack with Matthew Stafford later. Honestly, I don't care about it too much. I mean, we already have our stack. I think if you're going through and if you're talking about having the highest ceiling possible for that last and final week, you almost want to have a stack and then some one-offs beyond that. So we are going to take DK Metcalf over Allen Robinson. I think is a better value overall. If you look at the yards per route run for Allen Robinson last year, you look at the fact that Darnell Mooney dominated the man, and I don't necessarily think Darnell Mooney is some elite level talent at the position. I am concerned about Allen Robinson. I'm not going to be drafting Allen Robinson or Gabriel Davis, for that matter, very often here. Okay, so let's scroll this down a bit. I am interested to see what the Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson team does. If you think that that's an interesting start, I would love to hear some opinions in the comment section. Carson says, CJ Uzomah highly undervalued. I heard some reports coming out of New York. Keep in mind, all of these reports are trash at this time of the year. Like 9 times out of 10, if you hear something coming from training camp, like you should literally just crumble it up and throw it in the garbage bin. But some reports were saying that Tyler Conklin was being used as the tight end in the receiving game. And I didn't think it was good last year, if we're going to be honest. I mean, it's a bad offense, and he has target competition. Garrett Wilson's great. Elijah Moore is good. Breece Hall's a good pass catcher. Michael Carter's a good pass catcher. Tyler Conklin is a fine tight end. So I'm personally not going to be on him. Kyler Murray ends up going at the 509 here. That's to the team that drafted Hollywood Brown. They drafted Hollywood at pick 33. I honestly don't really agree with that. I mean, I think I would rather take Waddle there at 33, knowing that you took CeeDee Lamb at pick 16, so you're easily going to be able to get Dak Prescott later on in the draft regardless, so you don't have to reach on Hollywood to set up that stack with Kyler at the end of the 5th. Malik says, promo code, my man, you missed it. We already went through that about 30 seconds ago. Don't worry. Wait 30 more seconds and you'll hear it again. Okay, so Chris Godwin makes it all the way to pick 60. David Montgomery, pick 61. Another running back that I am going to have in so many of these drafts is David Montgomery. I went from being a David Montgomery hater, a Josh Jacobs hater, to now one of their biggest fanboys. I think people are legitimately just tired of the man. And I know with David Montgomery, a lot of people want to come out here and say that he doesn't have upside. Well, if we go back to what you had in 2020. Let me surprise you to show you how many points that David Montgomery actually was able to put up in his second season. So if we go through and we look at Montgomery, the running backs to score more points per game than David Montgomery in 2020. Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and James Robinson. Those were the running backs to score more points per game than David Montgomery. I think the overall David Montgomery has no upside narrative is just a narrative based on nothing, based on feeling. I used to spout it off when David Montgomery would go significantly higher in these drafts, but now that you are getting him consistently at the end of the fifth, the beginning of the sixth, sign me up for it. Sign me up. Okay. So at the turn here, I think we have a couple different options. What I may end up doing is surprising some people. I worded that horribly. I'm an idiot. But let's see. Be hard on the clock. They have 3 running backs, 2 receivers. Do they go with Drake London or Amon-Ra St. Brown? They go Treylon Burks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote-unquote reach a little bit. We are going to get another player, a part of a very good offense. Yes, he has the same bias, George Kittle. I understand. I will sacrifice the 12 points. I will sacrifice the 12 points. We will have a unique team. We will have the ceiling during the tournament, which is exactly what matters. The main reason I'm trying this out, the main reason I'm taking Dalton Schultz here, is we saw that other team at the other end of the draft take both Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. So if we take both Kittle and Dalton Schultz is in a great situation. If you look at the targets that are going to be available, yeah, Hawkinson ends up getting pushed up as well. This is what I'm talking about. I think that you are going to see some of these tight ends pushed up the board now. I don't really think that this draft room has another option. But let's see. Maybe it burns us. I think we have a great roster overall. I think that we will have a shot at getting some of those stacks, making it back with our quarterbacks. Joe Burrow didn't get there. Joe Burrow was selected at pick 65, which sucks, but it is what it is. We just have to move on. Chase says, I'm the guy that drafted the Chiefs Ravens stack. Oh my gosh, Chase. I do not like that at all, my man. I'll say you had some great values at pick 60, 61. But, oh dear God. I just don't even see the Mahomes, Lamar, and Kelsey Andrews pairing. Like, I don't see a ceiling to it, if we're going to be honest. Juicy Delight says, why did Javonte Williams drop in ADP? People are getting smarter. I mean, I tweeted this out earlier last week saying and we've been talking about this as well. Melvin Gordon averaged more carries per game and averaged more yards per carry last year. Of course, I'm projecting. Of course, I'm expecting that you are going to have Javonte Williams as the starting running back in Denver. However, the gap between those two players should not be nearly as wide as what it is. And I loved drafting Javonte Williams last year, but the price point was significantly lowered, and the situation is better because you have Russell Wilson coming over, but the competition for targets has remained the same. Chris said he was the 69th like on the live stream. My man, thank you, of course. And I got great news for everybody in this live stream right now. Did you know that you could be the 70th like? You could be then the 71st like. You could be the 72nd like. You could be the 100th like on this live stream. All you got to do is go down there and drop that like. And if you were to subscribe to the channel, if you were to let me know how awesome we are, that would be much appreciated. But Reese coming out says, hey, Mason, what's your actual favorite place to draft from? P.S. You have to enter another puppy draft after this. I just paid your entry fee. Thank you, my man, of course, for supporting the channel. I promise you I appreciate it. I will get another draft going after this one. And I'm not going to lie. This year, in my opinion, is so different than what we've had in previous, in that I very rarely get a draft spot and I'm that excited about it. I mean, if we look at some of the ranges of the draft that I am personally not that excited of, I can find players that I'm comfortable with everywhere. Now, at the end of the fifth, the beginning of the sixth, I'm taking Montgomery. I'm taking Dobbins. I'm taking Jacobs all the time. Here at the 4 or 5 turn, I love me some Kittle. I love getting some Lamar Jackson there as well. And we can just go through the entire draft room. I don't feel like a single spot has a significant advantage this year. Because even if you get Taylor at the 101, the players you're taking at the 2-3 turn, they feel pretty damn bad. It feels very similar to what you're getting at the 3-4 turn. So I hate to give you that answer. I know it is a very bad one. If I had to say my least favorite place to select from, easily my least favorite place to select from would be the middle, like the 106, 107, 108. 108 is probably my worst. 108 is probably the worst. And I'm very comfortable with the 102, 103, 104, 105. Stafford goes to the 808, and dear God. Oh, it's not going to happen for us. It's not going to happen for us, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is going to be tough. Take Dallas Goedert. We did the best we could. I honestly do not regret anything that we have done so far. We wanted quarterbacks falling to us. What we needed is Lance to make it back. If Lance made it back, we stacked him with Kittle. If Stafford made it back, we stacked him with Kupp. If Brady made it back, we stacked him with Fournette. If Dak Prescott made it back, we stacked him with Dalton Schultz. We just needed one of those quarterbacks to make it back to us, which didn't happen, but it is what it is. We'll move on. We won't cry about it. Let's go ahead. Oh my God, this is so freaking gross. Did we get Rodgers? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my gosh. We are about to pivot. We are about to take Rodgers and Watson. I don't even know if we can do that now. Because if we take Rodgers, we can't even go out of our way and get Robert Tonyan later on. So I don't even know if Rodgers were to make it back to us, a big 98. I don't think we take Rodgers. Do we go with one of our favorite running backs in Kareem Hunt? Let's just go ahead and let's grab one of our favorite running backs in Kareem Hunt. This is falling off the rails. Falling off the rails here. Okay. Let's scroll this down. Glitch Aspect says, how do you feel about taking Tyreek Hill in the 4th round? My man, I'm assuming you're flexing on us, literally just letting us know that somehow, some way, Tyreek Hill made it to you in the 4th round. And if that is the case, if Tyreek Hill made it to you in the 4th round, you should be embarrassed because you should have taken him in the 3rd. Like, there is no reason, unless you didn't have a 3rd round pick, my man. Tyreek Hill in the 4th round. I'm assuming if you're talking about an underdog 12-team draft, regardless of if it's going to be a $3, $5, $25, regardless of what it is, crazy value. John coming out says, keep the drafts going all-nighter. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you. I truly do. I will try to go as long as possible. The last one we did was 4 drafts long, which it's brutal. I know I am being such a baby. There are probably real men in the chat right now that work construction, real men that have real jobs as I sit here and draft a fantasy football team, have the best job on the planet. But it does take a toll on your voice, recording as many videos as I have been and streaming 4 of these drafts every night. Okay. Clutch Guy says, Mason, do you know how to report people on Underdog? Because this guy in my draft took Sammy Watkins in the 1st round of a puppy. What I would do is I would go through and I'd screenshot the draft and I would send it to them. I would send it to Underdog on Twitter. Like, send it to really anybody associated with Underdog, but definitely report that. And I'm sure that it's already flagged by Underdog as well. Okay. So Dawson Knox at the 102, Garrett Wilson at the 103. Chase says, I understand my upside isn't as high as one of the other teams, but could argue that I have a chance to end up with the number 1 quarterback and number 1 tight end every week. My man, you most likely will end up with the number 1 quarterback and number 1 tight end every single week. But who knows where you'll be stacking up at running back 1, running back 2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and then your flex spot. So if y'all don't know, Chase is out there at pick 12. What I would say is if you were wanting to be this crazy, if you were wanting to try to pull this off, sometimes just every once a blue moon, if you take Mark Andrews at the 1-2 turn, you could wait and possibly get Lamar Jackson at pick 60. If that was going to be the case, maybe. Okay, so we have some tight ends going off in this round. That's what we needed. We need tight ends to be drafted, of course, whenever we take Dalton Schultz in the pick 71, pair him up with George Kittle. What we really want is we want these quarterbacks making it back to us, and I will do a backflip. I've never done one before, but I will attempt my first backflip on camera if we have Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr making it to us at the 10-11 turn. I'm saying that because there's no shot. You have Aaron Rodgers going there at pick 110. That would have been beautiful. Derek Carr at pick 111. Okay. Caden says, hope I can get in one of these drafts before I head into the movies. My man, please let me know what movie you're going to see, and please let me know. Let me hope that it's Top Gun, because, well, I think that's the only movie I've seen since before COVID, at least in the theaters. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Okay, the fall for Christian Watson, I do not understand at all. I do. Jameson Williams, who's going up against Hawkinson, who's going up against DJ Chark, DeAndre Swift, and has Jared Goff as quarterback, and he's going to miss the beginning of the season. Going before Christian Watson is one of, if not the craziest things I have ever seen in my entire life. Oh. Christian Watson making it a pick 116, even after Gallup. Great value here. This team has gone through and they've drafted 7 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, 1 running back, and no tight ends so far. I think that this is going to be, our construction will be 3-5-8-2. We are going to have a 3-5-8-2 build. And I used to be a lot more excited about, oh, okay, yeah, this is great. We have elite level wide receivers. We have a pretty good running back core. We have elite tight ends. But I've become addicted to grabbing 2 of these very good quarterbacks. I think if we're talking about trying to build the highest ceiling possible, like these quarterbacks that we're going to be taking later on, like Justin Fields, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, they just don't have, like, even if they hit to their 95th percentile outcome, they still don't have the same ceiling as what a Lamar Jackson would on a week-to-week basis. Like, even if you have a massive hit with that selection, it's still probably not enough. Okay, let me know, do y'all want Rondale Moore or Kenny Golladay? I don't care. I'll throw this one to the chat. We haven't done this in a while. I think we need a wide receiver. Based on how the position's going to dry up after this, wide receiver, Rondale. Okay, first message I see is Rondale Moore. If you look at the average depth of target for Rondale Moore this past season, though, it is laughably bad. Like, Rondale Moore in his usage last year looked slightly more like a running back than he actually did a wide receiver. Hopefully this changes with no Christian Kirk, with DeAndre Hopkins out the first 6 weeks, with Hollywood Brown coming over. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury can cook some stuff up in the lab, but it doesn't look great. Dylan says, I'm going to Vegas next week. I live in Washington and can't use Underdog here. Am I able to draft teams while I'm in Vegas, or do I have to live there? If you were to travel to a state that allowed Underdog or DFS, you can do it when you were in that state, but you can't in Vegas. With Vegas, the real sports books obviously have lobbyists that can affect the laws. Underdog's completely regulated, so it's not available in Nevada, which is one of the reasons why I don't think I could ever move to Las Vegas. Santiago says, Mason, I got Jonathan Taylor at the 5 spot today and Jamar Chase at the 9 in a different draft. How does this happen to y'all? I've already done over 100 of these puppy drafts. None of this. I've never seen Jonathan Taylor go to pick 5. I've never seen that happen. J Money says, do you ever do slow drafts? No, I don't. I think that if you're looking at the slow draft crowd versus the fast draft crowd, I think we can take advantage of some value in fast drafts that may not necessarily be there in slow drafts. Okay, McCole Hardman at pick 129. Let's see. What we need is quarterback. Quarterback needs to fall back to us, but I don't even know who would be sitting at the top of ADP right now. Lawrence? And would we even take Trevor Lawrence if he was available? We don't have... I guess we're going to have to take 3 of these guys. So I don't think it matters too much. And he says, do you care about the Sammy Watkins hype? I'm not going to lie, my man. I do not even know what Sammy Watkins hype you were talking about. Let me pull this up. 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. Any report you hear coming out of camp is going to be garbage. So I looked up Sammy Watkins on Twitter. There was Aaron Rodgers saying he's happy for Sammy Watkins to get a new shot somewhere. There's a video of Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to Sammy Watkins. Like, no, what is this? I'm not buying into this. I will actually start drafting Sammy Watkins in a lot more of these drafts if we get to the preseason and he's still on the roster. Like, one thing that I am worried about Sammy Watkins with is his contract. Sammy Watkins signed a contract that, can someone guess how much guaranteed money is on Sammy Watkins' contract? For reference, let me pull up the Russell Gage contract. Some other wide receivers that signed this offseason. Russell Gage got a total of $20 million guaranteed. See how much Allen Robinson got? Allen Robinson got a total of $30 million guaranteed. Okay, so with that baseline, Allen Robinson, $30 million guaranteed. Russell Gage, $20 million guaranteed. People want to guess how much Sammy Watkins got guaranteed? It's Deggy says $10 million. Nick says a $750,000. Oh, that's a big fall off. Well, no, he did not get $10 million guaranteed. He did not get $750,000 guaranteed. The man had, and Mike says $3 million guaranteed. No, he did not get $3 million guaranteed. Let me double check this real quick. MJR has it $350,000 guaranteed. That is the contract that you were looking at for Mr. Sammy Watkins. So I am instead at the very end of these drafts, right now when it's June, where there's going to be stuff that changes. I'm going to be taking those wide receivers that are probably worse, like Tyquan Thornton. Like, Thornton's going to be very bad. He will be bad. But we know for a damn fact he will be on the roster week 1. We know that he will probably be playing snaps at some point this season. We can say the same thing about Velus Jones. So I'm going to be taking shots on those players whenever it's early June. And once we get to late July, August, September, that's when I'll be drafting those players that we think have a lot of upside, like Sammy Watkins, that maybe right now aren't guaranteed to be on the roster. Okay, so what we are really hoping for is we need Tua. Yes, we get Tua coming in. No, Tua doesn't necessarily fit any of these stacks perfectly. Technically, we have Chase Edmonds. We can go, okay, hopefully we have a spike week from Tua, Chase Edmonds at the same time. Hopefully we get a week with Chase Edmonds that has 2 receiving touchdowns for 70 receiving yards and yada. Not a great quarterback pick, but this is what happens when you get boxed out of the position. Usually our strategy is to go through and grab 2 of those quarterbacks before pick 100. But it is what it is. We had to pivot. And Jamison Crowder, I love the Jamison Crowder value. I mean, I think that if you're looking at Gabriel Davis being drafted in the 5th versus Jamison Crowder, here we get him at pick 143. There should not be that gap, in my opinion. Okay, so Winston goes directly after at pick 147. We are still needing 2 more quarterbacks. And the issue is we set ourselves up for those stacks with the top end quarterbacks earlier on. So if we just walk through this, you know what? I don't see a single quarterback we could bring. I'm not bringing in anybody for Seattle. Like we're not taking a Seattle quarterback. I don't want to take Marcus Mariota. You know what? We maybe will have to take Mariota on this team. We have London. We have Cordell Patterson. We could get Marcus Mariota in the 18th round. So that will be one of our quarterbacks, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like Mariota's really our only stack that we have set up. Everybody else is in a part of an elite offense that quarterback's already off the board with. So lock and load, Mr. Marcus Mariota. We can probably take another wide receiver here in a second that sets us up with a different stack later on. Okay. So Nick says he was brutal last year, but could make a leap and seems Aaron Rodgers has faith in him. Okay. This is why this point of the offseason is always the most ridiculous. Like, let's try to put ourselves in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, right? So you just had practice. You just got done throwing the ball to Watson, to Sammy Watkins. I mean, you just had a good day of practice, right? You're at your locker and you're like, oh crap, I got to talk to these reporters. I got to talk to these reporters. It sucks. Worst part of my day. They go up to you and they say, hey, Sammy Watkins is coming over. What do you think about your new wide receiver, Sammy Watkins? Is Aaron Rodgers supposed to look into the camera and go, man, he's not good. He's a bum. He may not even make the team. He is a washed wide receiver that he was good in like 2015. But if between you and me, I think Christian Watson's a better option. I think Allen Lazard's going to be better. I think we're going to get targets to Robert Tonyan. I think we're going to throw the ball to Aaron Jones. I don't know about that Sammy Watkins guy. Do you think that's what he's going to say? No. If you're Aaron Rodgers, you go, oh, I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to be a great fit here. I'm excited to have him on the team. Of course, that's what you say, guys. If we get reports coming out from coaching staffs where coaching staff says, you know what? James Washington's going to be in our 3 wide receiver sets this year. That's something where you get out your little notepad. You go, okay, James Washington's going to be in 3 wide receiver sets. We need to note that. But if it's someone going, I'm rooting for him, I'm happy he's here. What's the alternative of them saying that? Of course they're going to say that. Okay. Zach says, haven't been here in a while. Great to watch. Thank you, Zach, for coming out to the live stream. I appreciate it, my man. David Bell at 161. Jahan Dotson falling like a rock. I would happily take Jahan Dotson here. And we still need one more running back. Keep in mind, we're going one more running back, 2 more quarterbacks, and then 2 more wide receivers. In regards to Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, couldn't get any stacks with him here. R.R. Jada, I believe that's how you say their name. Probably not, but they only have 2 running backs. They go Everett. Ooh, go Everett for their 3rd tight end. I guess they're getting the Justin Herbert stack coming in, but thank you. That helps us. This team has 7 wide receivers. 7 wide receivers, 1 quarterback, 1 tight end. There are no tight ends available right now, so hopefully I don't know where we want them to go. We know we want them to avoid Jahan Dotson. You got 7 wide receivers. Let Dotson fall to us. Let the man fall. Come on, Scooby. A dog coming out says someone's spamming in the Discord. Yeah, I'll pull up the Discord chat and ban whoever I need to. Just send me a DM on Discord with who's spamming and I'll ban them. And, you gotta be kidding me. Dotson makes it 1 pick before us. 1 pick. Do we just go ahead and take Robbie Anderson? No. Actually, no. Yeah, we're going to go Robbie Anderson. Who am I kidding? Robbie Anderson will be in 2 wide receiver sets for Carolina. I mean, with Robbie Anderson, he's just going to draw so many targets. Okay. Dale says, hey, Mason, any thoughts on taking Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield with your last pick, hoping for a trade or a Watson suspension? I think it's completely fine, but the thing is we have to ask ourselves, if something were to change and say Baker Mayfield tomorrow gets traded to Seattle, where is he then being drafted? Realistically. Round 15? Like, he's not being drafted higher than Tannehill. I'll tell you that. Round 15, round 16, round 17. So is there that much upside for you to profit with? What I would say is in puppy drafts where he's not being drafted at all, yes, I would be interested in it. But if you go over to Best Ball Mania where there are going to be drafts all the way until August, there I don't really see a reason for it. We're going to go Tyrion Davis-Price. So yes, we are really punting quarterback. We are really rolling the dice here. But like I said, I think when we look at the construction of our team, it's not exciting to say the least. It's the exact opposite of what we were hoping for, but hell, we've been in over 100 drafts. Sometimes they're not going to go the way you hope. We are locking and loading Marcus Mariota as our last pick. Tyrion Davis-Price, I think, is about the last teardrop. I would not be surprised if Tyrion Davis-Price was the starting running back for the 49ers this upcoming season. So going through, grabbing him as our last running back here in round 15, I'm excited about it. I'm going to consistently do it when we have the opportunity. And yes, we are expecting that Wilson, Ryan Tannehill are going to be going after relatively soon. Okay, so I believe... And real quick, usually I say, oh, please, sir, drop a like on the live stream. If we get 150 likes on the live stream, we'll get another draft going after this. Don't worry, we're going to get another draft going after this regardless, but it would be nice if you dropped a like on the stream. Okay, so KJ Hamler goes pick 175, and we have Goff off the board as well. Slightly painful to see Jared Goff go. It is what it is. But what quarterbacks should we be looking at? And one thing that I do want to point out, I don't know. I don't remember where I saw this. I think the Jets season may end up being done before it even starts. Because if you look at the Jets schedule, of course, this doesn't affect too many things from a fantasy football perspective, but I think people will be very disappointed by the Jets this season. The Jets, first week, Ravens. Second week, Browns. Now, maybe they dodge Watson. They dodge Watson, that'd be massive. Then Bengals, Steelers, Dolphins, Packers, Broncos, Patriots, Bills, Patriots. I can't imagine the Jets being favored in too many of those games. Alberto says, did I miss the promo? Yes, you missed it. Don't worry. Don't worry, my man. Just wait 15 seconds and you'll be right here for it. Dog coming out says, am I the only one who loves Jalen Guyton? He's the wide receiver 101 and can get a 60-yard touchdown random. I'm fine with Jalen Guyton. I mean, if you look at Jalen Guyton, a lot of the routes that he runs, they're almost like empty calories. Like he's never going to be drawing targets on those just pure vertical, almost clear out routes. But yeah, especially if you were to have an injury to one of the top 3 wide receivers in Los Angeles. I mean, I personally think that Mike Williams has gotten to the point where, like, when you're everybody's favorite wide receiver, when everybody without hesitation loves Courtland Sutton, loves Mike Williams, loves Michael Pittman, and all these guys are going mid-round 3, I feel like I'm the only person on this planet that has an issue with it. That says, you know what, this probably shouldn't be happening. But I am completely fine with betting on that Los Angeles Chargers passing attack because, yeah, Justin Herbert is elite. Justin Herbert could be one of the best quarterbacks that we see in a very long time. Okay, so at this point, we really want Mac Jones making it to us, picking 191. And I think he does because whatever the hell this person's name is, they already have 3 quarterbacks. You know what? They just don't know what's going on, though. They take a 3rd quarterback after Herbert and Stafford. They only have 2 RBs. Yeah, this team just has no idea what's going on. They're going with a hyper-fragile build with 4 running backs total. And those 4 running backs are Javonte Williams, Dameon Pierce, and God knows who else they get in rounds 17 and 18. So that person's just completely lost. Scooby takes Chris Evans here over Brian Robinson, over J.D. McKissic. What? Okay, so it looks like we are probably going to end up getting Mr. Mac Jones. If not, it is what it is. We'll grab Carson Wentz and then we'll get Marcus Mariota in the last round. It'll be gross. Taysom goes. We'll bring in Mr. Mac Jones. And hopefully get Kendrick Bourne here because we need a stack. If we don't get Kendrick Bourne, what we are going to do is we're going to take Tyquan Thornton in the last round and we'll grab Marcus Mariota at the beginning of the 17th. Where's Mariota's ADP? We should get Marcus Mariota. There should be no issue with that. Corvette says, yeah, you can only do 4 running back if you take 3 fairly early. Need guaranteed touches for that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, whoever's in this draft, they just don't know what's going on. Which is nice for us. Like, they're donating to the league pod. It's kind of what you want. Okay. Byron Pringle goes. Let's go ahead and let's take Kendrick Bourne here to stack up with Mac Jones. And then we are going to queue up these quarterbacks, queue up Mariota. If we don't get Mariota, who cares? Well, we just need another starter in here. And we'll take Desmond Ridder. If that doesn't work out, blah, 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 blah. Let's go get another draft going. We got to try to max these out. Hopefully this time we don't get boxed out of the quarterback position. But it is what it is. So let's join this. And we just joined and it is full. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry. Nick says, Mason, have you ever thought about doing a fan meet and greet? I'd love to do something like that. My man, we have done 2 flock meetups. Okay. You're behind here, my friend. You're behind. We are probably going to get another one going in Austin, Texas. I don't want to give you an exact time period, but we'll probably get another one going in Austin, Texas at some point at the end of 2022, maybe at the end of summer, some point in either 2022 or 2023, we'll have another flock meetup in Austin, Texas. I'll tell you that much. Okay, let's queue up our start. like I said, I think based on the running back value, based on the fact that we can easily just go through and grab Nick Chubb at the beginning of the 3rd round, we are going to go ahead and take a wide receiver. Caden says the flock meetups are across the country for me. I'm sorry, my man. One day, if I go to California, one day, maybe we can have a meetup. Big Trap says, how are you feeling about James Conner? Where should he be drafted? James Conner's in a very interesting spot in these drafts in that if you're looking at his ADP, he's going right in the range where you're seeing just a long list of wide receivers. Like, it's funny where you're looking at these players being bunched up. Like, you have the Kamara, Fournette, Barkley, Nick Chubb. They all go in a range. And then James Conner is just the lone running back here. Like, you're never seeing Conner really get pushed up. I don't think I've ever seen James Conner go ahead of one of Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams. I don't think I've ever seen him go behind Ezekiel. It's very funny that James Conner is just consistently like on an island there. Noah says Mason is really trying to dodge us in these. My man, I know it looks like it. I'm telling you right now, I'm happy. It has happened so far. I'm happy that both drafts that I've joined have been full. Like, I'll admit that. But no, we do these live streams so y'all can get in. Okay, so I believe if we look across this draft room, we don't have a single person from the flock in here. Yeah. This will be a good draft. I'm feeling this one. I'm feeling this one. You have Najee Harris going pick 6. Jamar Chase falls all the way to 7. Ooh. Austin says, love the Cooper Kupp at 1 pick for a unique build. My man, taking Cooper Kupp at 1's not a unique build. Because if you have to think about it, well, yeah, not too many people are going to take Cooper Kupp at 1. When you start a team a unique way, it's not necessarily where a player was drafted. It's the combination of players that you have. So if we look at Cooper Kupp, we don't know exactly who he's going to be drafted with at the 2-3 turn, but probably it's going to be a strong overlap of the same players that in another draft, if Cooper Kupp was drafted at pick 2, it's the same player pool. It's the same group of like 5 guys. So no, taking Cooper Kupp at 1's not a unique build. Like going and taking what we saw in the last draft, like Devontae Adams at 11 and then Saquon Barkley at the beginning of the 2nd, that's a unique build because the combination of those players, not much overlap. Because if we look at the groupings, Devontae Adams is always going to be going to a team with Kelsey, with Andrews, with Joe Mixon, with Dalvin Cook, with Derrick Henry sometimes. So I hope that makes sense. Andy says, reduced snaps for Najee Harris. Any concerns? No. What did the team do to show us that they were going to reduce the snaps? What moves did they make in the offseason? None. No, I'm not concerned at all. Okay, so Travis Kelce goes to pick 14. Okay, so we're seeing tight ends fall a little bit in this draft, so this is going to be something that we need to take note of. Like if we see Mark Andrews, say, slide all the way to pick 19 or something, that is going to tell us that, you know what, probably shouldn't take Kyle Pitts at pick 28. Riz says, the whole flock is in another draft, Mason. Oh, dear God. I'm glad I dodged that one. I'd imagine I was going to be pretty damn tough. Okay, Swift goes at pick 15 here. Okay, so running backs are getting pushed up in this draft room. Andy says, just more Twitter quotes, LL. If you look at my Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, let me pull this up real quick. I will show you a pro hack of Twitter, right? If you want to get the most out of Twitter, here's what you do. You go follow this account and this account alone. All jokes aside, I only follow one person on Twitter, and it's because I hate Twitter. I think that Twitter 9 times out of 10 is not going to help you out. Now, yes, I have one, so I can stir up the flame, so I can make some people mad, so we can put some jokes out there. But I think that if you're getting fantasy football information off Twitter 9 times out of 10, it's going to be bad because think about it. If you go through and if you watch a 20-minute video, listen to an hour-long podcast, you're going to see a real explanation. However, if you're reading 140 characters on Twitter, very limited in the quote-unquote analysis you can be getting from that. Okay. So Mike Evans at pick 19. Leonard Fournette, pick 20. Oh, crap. I thought we were getting Andrews. No, Andrews goes at 204. I was completely lost here. So let's go ahead and probably we'll take Tyreek. I feel like we haven't taken Tyreek in forever here. It is what it is. Very bad situation for Tyreek Hill. Not too excited to be drafting him at pick 21, but if we're looking at the running backs that are going to be available to us in the third round, we are going to get Nick Chubb. It doesn't matter. We'll get Nick Chubb. We'll get Javonte Williams. Hopefully not Javonte. Like I said, I think Javonte needs to continue to fall. I think Javonte does need to be going in the middle of round 3 to the end of round 3 rather than at the end of round 2, the beginning of round 3. Corvette says, I installed Twitter to track past restock. PS5. Okay. PS5 restock. Okay. I was going to say, what kind of code is this, my man? Cameron says, made my first live stream, Mason. Keep it up. You're an inspiration, my man. No, thank you so much for coming out to stream. I promise you I appreciate it. And the fact that y'all come out here and hang out with me every single night, like, y'all are literally crazy. Crazy that y'all are willing to watch these every single night. And it truly does mean the world to me. I promise you I appreciate it more than you could believe. Okay. So Michael Pittman goes, you know what? F it. F it, F it, F it, F it. We are going to get a running back in round 5 that I'm fine with. Let's go ahead. Let's grab Keenan Allen. I would consider taking Kyle Pitts here. Now, the reason we're not going to go ahead and take Kyle Pitts is based on what we've seen from the rest of this draft room. We've seen the rest of this draft room take Kelsey at pick 14. We've seen them take Andrews at pick 16. So I am slightly concerned that these teams here at the end are not going to respect the tight end position. And if we take Kyle Pitts here at pick 28, and then all of a sudden we have Darren Waller staring at us in the face at pick 45, I'm going to feel very awkward. We're not going to be able to feel like we can take Darren Waller. But when in doubt, go with the receiver. When in doubt, go with the wide receiver. I was hoping we were going to get Nick Chubb making it back to us at pick 28. Like I said, not a massive fan of Javonte Williams this year. Pick 30, I think he's fine, but we will go Keenan Allen over him. Nick says, I'm always tuning into the live streams, even when my girlfriend is here. She might want to hop on that boat far away from yours soon. Mason, yeah. If your girlfriend's listening to this right now, I will say, how are you putting up with this, man? I can at least give my girlfriend the excuse that it's my job and I have to talk about fantasy football all the time, that I, quote unquote, have to live stream drafts all the time, and I always have to be in a draft. This is what I can tell her. I have an excuse. But if she's having to listen to this, maybe she likes to listen to this beautiful voice. Who knows? I mean, probably, very likely, honestly. Okay, so James Conner, pick 32. Okay, so we have a team here going with the running back heavy build with Dalvin, Aaron Jones, and James Conner. Battling it out here. The combination of Jefferson, Tyreek, Keenan Allen versus Dalvin, Aaron Jones. We'll see how this works out. We'll see how this works out. Logan says, how common is getting a Derrick Henry pick 11 and Joe Mixon right after? Not common at all. I think that is a great start and a unique combination as well. OP says, wish I could draft with you, but I live in Ontario, Canada, and they released garbage gambling. How many of y'all? Let me know how many of y'all live in Ontario. I have gotten a billion messages this year. I mean, saying, oh, Mason, Ontario took away DFS. None of these sites are available in Ontario anymore. How? Like, I assume that maybe we had 10 people watching from Ontario. Maybe Ontario is way bigger than I thought it was. Keep in mind, I'm an idiot. Keep in mind, I literally know one thing, and that one thing is fantasy football. Okay, so Mahomes goes at pick 37. You see Mahomes not going to the Kelsey team. They do take Jerry Jeudy, so I guess maybe you make the argument, oh, they have the week 17 game stack. Cam Akers goes at pick 38. Jared says we don't have it in New Zealand either. Oh, yeah, no, Underdog Fantasy is not overseas. Because Underdog Fantasy is 100% regulated and everything, it's going to be in the United States, outside of like certain states like Louisiana, Montana, Nevada, Michigan. There are a couple others that I'm missing, very few. And then apparently Ontario, Canada no longer has it, but other parts of Canada does. Okay, so Jalen Waddle, pick 40. I would have been in a dream if Jalen Waddle made it to us at pick 45. But you know who we may get? My favorite player of them all. Let me just go ahead and queue him up here. No, he's gone. This draft is ruined. I really wanted to grab a 27-year-old wide receiver who's never finished in the top 24 on a points per game basis, that had almost half the production of a wide receiver that was almost 4 years younger than him the year before. I was really wanting to bring in Courtland Sutton. Oh, that's devastating. That has ruined my draft, ruined my night. I don't know how we're going to recover. I really don't know how I'm going to recover. Darren Waller gone. So, looks like we're getting Herbert. Looks like we are going with Justin Herbert to get the Keenan Allen stack. Okay, that looked like an auto draft, but they weren't auto drafting earlier. Okay, so we get Justin Herbert to bring in here with Keenan Allen. I like Herbert. I like grabbing one of these elite level quarterbacks. I will say it's not as exciting as it seems because Herbert goes here all the time. He always goes to a team that has either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. So it's not that unique of a combination. So let's see this. Austin says, Sutton is an alpha, not his fault. You are basically throwing in the ball. If Sutton is an alpha, dear God, what does that make Jerry Jeudy, who almost doubled him in games that they played together over the past 2 years in production overall? Like if that makes Sutton an alpha, Jerry Jeudy must be short for Jerry Rice. Something along those lines. Justin says, first stream I've been able to catch live. Always watch him after, though. Thank you, Justin, my man. Happy to see you were able to make it out. Okay, so Kittle goes to pick 48. Y'all know I was wanting to have George Kittle fall back to us. Okay. Alberto says, Jerry Jeudy is alpha squared. I honestly think we may have to agree with that statement, apparently. Okay, so. Okay. We are going to go. I think we go Breece Hall. It's an interesting thought experiment on passing on Breece Hall, taking DK Metcalf. We're not going to do it. We'll take Breece Hall. Nick says, all she told me was, go find me a Charger. Oh, the disrespect, my man. Okay, so let's go through. Hopefully, I don't even know what we're hoping for. Like, what will be nice is we can get Cousins later on, and I feel like taking Cousins is going to be in a nice sweet spot where we only need 2 quarterbacks, but we're not having to invest too much in the position. I guess we were hoping that we get Dalton Schultz in the middle of the 7th. Looks like a very balanced draft so far. And for anybody who has not heard this in the past 45 seconds, I got good news for you. You're going to hear it again. Okay. If somehow, some way, you are not enjoying life for the most it has to offer, if you are not living your best life, if you have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy and hopped into some real money fantasy football drafts yet, fix your life. Start having fun. Start enjoying yourself? Go to the link in the description. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Not only are you going to enjoy yourself, but you're going to get into drafts with us on the live stream. You are going to get our 2022 rankings. You are going to get our Dynasty rankings. You'll get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. And they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So it's essentially free for you to support this channel more than you could ever believe. So you got to go through and you have to support that. Al says, I have 62 active 12-man slow drafts on Underdog right now. You are a psychopath. Legitimately a psychopath. I could not do that. I would have so much anxiety. Okay. So we have a wide receiver run happening here. Amari Cooper has been someone falling. You've seen all these Cleveland Browns players falling. I mean, obviously, Watson looks more and more likely every single day to go through and miss more than 8 games, even though once we had the trade, I was like, oh no, there's no way in hell that Deshaun Watson misses. We said the entire year, but I was strongly insinuating that he was unlikely to miss the majority of the season as well, based on the price point that team went out and paid for him. They went through and they traded 3 first-round picks. Think about this. They traded 3 first-round picks. Stafford took 2. The Cleveland Browns traded 3 first-round picks and did not stop there. They then went out of their way to give Deshaun Watson the most guaranteed money of all time in the NFL. So I was looking at that going, okay, well, yeah, the Cleveland Browns owner probably knows more than we do. We probably need to be listening to him in terms of how long Deshaun Watson's actually going to miss. So I wrongly stated that Watson was probably not going to miss much time. And now it's looking like I said, I was just flat out wrong. Or Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson, and David Bell are massive values right now. GA says Stafford took 1. The other was to take the Jared Goff contract. I forgot about that. Great point. Stafford didn't even take 2 because they sent Jared Goff away and they saved what? How much money was on that Jared Goff contract? Saved a crap ton of money because that was a contract that they would never have been able to get rid of otherwise. Okay, I'm really hoping we get Michael Thomas making it to us here. I'm glad that we did take Breece Hall. I mean, I really thought I was going to convince myself into Metcalf. Is this team on auto now? Yeah, I think this team's on auto. They were drafting at the very beginning because they did go out and reach on Najee Harris. But since then, it looks like every pick that they've made has been based on the top of ADP. It's hard for us to change our strategy too much around that. Let's go ahead and let's probably just take Drake London here. I love me some London. We are going to continue to take him, a wide receiver that's in a very bad situation, but he's an elite level talent. He checks every single box that you are going to find. Joe Burrow goes to pick 70. I'm not dying to get Joe Burrow. I mean, we don't have any Cincinnati Bengals. We already have Justin Herbert. I mean, the target for us a little later on will be Kirk Cousins. If we don't get Cousins, I'm honestly fine with Tua Tagovailoa with this build as well. Nick says, yeah, that could go down as the worst trade in history. Like, if Watson's suspended for a season, I think undoubtedly it goes down as the worst trade in NFL history. It has to, right? 3 first-round picks it's not the NBA. Like, in the NBA, obviously one player can make such a large impact, and the majority of those first-round picks aren't going to. So you can see some crazy deals involving pick packages in the NBA. But in the NFL, every one of those first-round picks is worth so damn much. You never see deals like that. Also, you never see contracts like that. Okay, so Renfrow goes to pick 73. Hunter Renfrow sliding up here. Treylon Burks picks 74. Burks has also been someone sliding, I feel like, for no reason as well. Okay, get us Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz. Come on. That's what we are hoping for. We do get our guy. We do get Dalton Schultz. I am becoming more and more of a Dalton Schultz fanboy. I will say that. This is a player that, if you do not believe in CeeDee Lamb's ability to potentially, say, get 26, 27% of the Dallas Cowboys target share, Dalton Schultz last year, let's look this up, ladies and gentlemen. I have not written his chapter in our fantasy football draft guide yet, but this shouldn't take too long to find out. Okay, so with Dalton Schultz, last season in a PPR format, the man was only outscored by George Kittle, Gronk, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. So Dalton Schultz last year was the tight end 5. And his situation this upcoming season is so much better. So much better. You have Amari Cooper leaving, which of course is great, but not only do you have Amari Cooper leaving, Michael Gallup's injured and Cedric Wilson's gone. Like, I know people want to get excited about Jalen Tolbert, but we don't even know if Jalen Tolbert's going to be as good as Cedric Wilson was. We're hoping he is. He was hyper productive in college, I will say that, but it's no guarantee. Nathan says, hard to believe the Browns gave up what they did without some inside info from the NFL. That was my assumption, my man. That was my assumption. Okay, so Sky Moore goes to pick 80. One player that I am not going to be taking really at all in drafts this year if he continues to go here at the end of the 7th, the beginning of the 8th. Like, to look at this guy more ADP versus where Christian Watson is going in drafts and the value you were getting with Christian Watson, I just can't imagine it. Tony Pollard, pick 81. We do need running backs making it back to us at some point. We have Breece Hall. Depending on what we do in the next 2 rounds, I would be fine drafting 6 running backs in this team, especially if we grab another capable tight end. We can stop at 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, so we could go 6 RBs and 8 wide receivers. Hopkins, pick 82. Brandon Ayuk, pick 83. Let's see, who's best available? I feel like there are going to be quarterbacks on the top. Yeah, there are quarterbacks. Wilson, Brady, Dak, Lance. I'd be fine. I'd be happy with Dak Prescott making it back to us when we took Dalton Schultz where we did. I'd assume that we get some of these quarterbacks going off the board right now. We're 7 picks away. How many of these teams don't have quarterbacks? Okay, so Dak Prescott goes as soon as we talk about him. Is this the team that has Lamb? No, they have Zeke. I guess maybe that's why they take Dak. Maybe they're just a Dallas fan. Like taking Dak this year above Wilson and Brady is pretty damn aggressive. So the teams between us. Yeah, so there are enough picks between us that it wouldn't make sense for us to go ahead and pass on a quarterback if we were to have Russell Wilson, if we were to have Tom Brady making it back. Now, if we were trying to find other players we could be taking with these guys, we could go Tom Brady and then later on get Rob Gronkowski. Russell Wilson's gone. You know what? So also, we have to remember this team here is on auto draft. So I think there's no way we get Tom Brady making it back. Chris Olave off the board. Cordell Patterson's been falling in ADP a ton. Caden says, Walker or Tony Pollard, they're right next to each other in ADP. I honestly think I probably would prefer Kenneth Walker. And I mean, if you're looking at it, I don't think they're next to each other in ADP. I think that Tony Pollard's been consistently going ahead of Kenneth Walker. Okay, so we're going to get the auto pick of Tom Brady here, which honestly may be a good thing for us. Maybe it's a good thing that we're not getting tempted. Just trust me, I am very tempted if Brady's sitting here. So what would be the opportunity cost of us? Okay, I don't even care if this team knows. They have Allen. I'd imagine they don't take Lance if they have Allen. Yeah, they go Lazard. We're going to go Lance. Should we? It's Lance or Lockett. I just love Trey Lance. I love the man so much. So much. I know we don't have a stack, but Trey Lance, the majority of his value he's bringing is rushing, so I don't think the stack's nearly as important. We'll make the boring pick. We'll make the boring pick. We told ourselves we were going to get Justin Jefferson. If somehow, some way, we end up getting Trey Lance making it back to us at pick 100, we'll take Trey Lance at pick 100. It's hard for me to pass on my guy. It truly is difficult for me to pass on my guy. Camden says, Mason, please explain why Olave is a better receiver than Jameson Williams. People keep trying me. Shake my head. Okay, well, the easiest way to describe why Chris Olave is a better wide receiver than Jameson Williams is if we just hop in a time machine and we try to put the wide receivers in the same situation, because that's the most difficult thing about prospect evaluation is like you're looking at players coming from different schools that had different quarterbacks, different coaching staffs, different competition for targets. So it's so hard to put players up against each other and create everything equal. But if there was anything we could do for Chris Olave and Jameson Williams, like if we could get in a time machine and say, go back to maybe 2020 and maybe go to somewhere like Ohio State, where maybe both wide receivers, hypothetically speaking, if both wide receivers were on the same team in 2020 at Ohio State, and if we saw one of those wide receivers, if we saw Chris Olave, hypothetically speaking, of course, if Chris Olave averaged almost 40% of that team's receiving production on a per game basis, and hypothetically speaking, Jameson Williams was not able to get on the field and Jameson Williams was forced to transfer because he was stuck behind Chris Olave. Like if something like that happened, then maybe We could say Chris Olave was better than James Williams, but we'll never know, my man. We'll never know, just because you're never going to get a situation like that happening. And if it were to happen, everybody would be able to see it clearly, and everybody would be level-headed and go, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Nobody would argue against it. Okay, Kareem Hunt going at pick 102. You know, I was tempted to take our guy Kareem Hunt over Cordell Patterson. I feel like when you're getting Cordell Patterson at pick 100, though, you kind of have to pull the trigger. I mean, we just look at the opportunity that he had last year. It's like you take a low-end running back 2, a high-end wide receiver 3, smush them together, or maybe like a running back 3, wide receiver 3, smush them together, and all of a sudden we find ourselves going right back to the well with a Atlanta Falcons a double stack in Drake London, Cordell Patterson. You never want to find yourself going all in on the Atlanta Falcons offense with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. Adam says, why is the auto draft team decent? This is what you always find with auto draft teams. Like through the first 5 or 6 rounds, you're always looking at the auto draft team going, oh my gosh, they have a better team than me. I am a horrible drafter. They are literally on auto and they're crushing it. However, once you get to the end of the draft, the train leaves the rails real quick. The train falls off the rails, whatever the saying is. Things fall apart, okay? So, yes, that team looks fine now, but let's wait. Let's see what it looks like in a second. Nick says, I just took Hunt over Patterson in the same exact position. I understand the thought process. Like I said, if I wasn't doing so many of these drafts, potentially I would just go Kareem Hunt over Cordell Patterson. It's just difficult for me whenever, we're going to get probably like, I keep on raising how many drafts we're going to be in because I keep on surprising myself with how many of these we do every day. Probably 400 drafts this offseason, like something ridiculous. Okay, so McCole Hardman, pick 109. Like, I just love that Christian Watson value. I understand he wasn't that great of a prospect, but the man goes inside the top 40 draft picks. He's going to a situation that has nothing. Like Sammy Watkins right now is getting hyped up in that situation. And seriously, how surprised would you be? Like if we just play this out 6 months from now and I come back and I'm like, hey man, I'm coming from the future. It is January 2023. And I need to tell you, draft Christian Watson. He was a wide receiver 1 this year with Aaron Rodgers. Would you, like, how surprised would you be? Would you shut the door in my face? Would you tell me, oh, man, you are crazy. You've lost your mind. You have no idea. Or would you be like, oh, why? Yeah, I could see that happening. Wide receiver goes to a situation with a ton of opportunity available. He was a decent prospect. He has the most invested into him by anybody on that team. And the efficiency in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers is elite, and we know we can safely project that. Okay, so let's scroll this up. Derek Carr falling. Aaron Rodgers fell to pick 114 as well. What was the report about Jameson Williams? Not expected to be ready for training camp. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. He's going to miss the beginning of the season. Everybody should know that. Okay. If we get up on the clock, they're going to take Robert Woods. So if we're up on the clock and Derek Carr is still available, do we roll the dice and see if we can get Kirk Cousins making it back to us at the 11:04? If he goes Carr, I think we just reach on Cousins. If not, we maybe roll the dice and try to get Cousins a little bit later on. You know what? If I look at the player that we would be taking at the 11:04 at running back compared to this guy, I don't think there's that much of a gap. So let's go ahead. Let's just take Kirk Cousins. I don't want to hate myself. We're not reaching on him a ton. We're reaching on him 3 picks according to his ADP. I think we do want to be taking a running back on the way back around. And the gap between Rashad Penny and Alexander Madison for me isn't massive at all. Like I would even be fine taking Ronald Jones. The gap between Ronald Jones and Alexander Madison for me isn't massive either. So we're going to go ahead. We're just going to take Kirk Cousins and we'll see what makes it back to us pick 124. Andrew says, puppy drafts will be full by the end of next week. Puppy drafts will be full by Sunday, I think. Man, they're almost 90% full. There have been almost 100,000 of these drafts kicked off. Or 100,000 entries, tomato. But it's just crazy to think about. Okay, Rashad Penny, pick 120. If Derek Carr doesn't go off the board, I will hate myself. Henry says they will start a new puppy. Yeah, they are going to get more puppy drafts going. I don't necessarily think that they would start one immediately. This is just speculation. This is just me guessing. I think what they'll probably do is take a small break and then let Best Ball Mania fill a little more. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not nearly important enough for Underdog for them to let me know. Okay, Derek Carr, pick 122. Okay, so let's see what we do here. I think we probably just want to go Alexander Madison. I love me some Alexander Madison. Especially when we have Jefferson, when we have Kirk Cousins. I think that Dalton Schultz pick was honestly pretty bad. Yeah. Just spam the chat. Do you want Ramondre Stevenson or Alexander Madison? I'll throw this one to y'all. I mean, with Ramondre Stevenson, I think the selling point that you could have is sometimes he could randomly spike into our starting lineup, and we kind of need that. We need a running back that's getting any touches whatsoever whenever we currently are rocking with Cordell Patterson as running back too. Okay, everybody's saying Madison. Everybody's saying Madison. Let's go through everybody spamming Madison. That was my initial reaction, but y'all know my confidence with myself is rock bottom. Rock bottom. Let me show off this draft board. I think if there was anything I would change with this, what do y'all think? Do you think I should have passed on Dalton Schultz at pick 76? Because the reason why I'm questioning this is I was thinking if we grabbed another tight end relatively early, we may only have to draft 2 when we take Dalton Schultz, but based on what we've done since then, I'm afraid that we may have to take 3. Interesting. Okay, Ramondre Stevenson goes directly after pick 126. Okay, so the 2 teams next to us have already drafted 2 tight ends, so I'd imagine we don't have to be worried about them taking tight end any longer. Okay, so Otis D, whatever their name is, they ended up auto-drafting Ramondre. Okay. So they have not taken a tight end yet. Jason says, should I trade Hollywood Brown for a 2023 first? Up to you, my man. We're really up to you in your roster. It's a fair price point. That is the going price for Hollywood Brown. I'd say if it's a super flex league, I probably prefer the first, but like I said, it's fair. It's up to you. Okay. So Ronald Jones, pick 130. Love the Rojo value. I mean, just the idea of taking running backs in uncertain situations that we know are going to be in elite level offenses. Mark says, whoa, trying a new strategy. What's so funny is the strategy I was going to talk about, which what we've been doing as of late in the drafts, at least we were having a lot of success with it this morning. We haven't even done it so far. Like we haven't had the opportunity to do it. So maybe, just maybe, the new strategy will have to hold off for another day. And we are right back to a 0 RB strategy with this team where we have gone wide receiver early, Jefferson, Tyreek, Keenan Allen, grab the elite quarterback with Justin Herbert to pair up with Keenan, Breece Hall as our hero running back / anchor RB, whatever you want to call him, London, Lockett, some wide receiver depth, hopefully some spike weeks, Dalton Schultz, the quote-unquote pseudo-elite tight end, probably not. Then Cordell Patterson, Alexander Madison, just some upside dart throws at running back. Probably going to end up taking 3 of those RBs. Okay, Rohil says, Rachaad White is my highest exposure so far. Let me know what your thought process is on why you've been going so heavy on Rachaad White. I mean, I understand, yeah, you are taking a piece of an elite offense. He was a great pass-catching running back as well coming out. Probably the best pass-catching running back in the draft. Okay, so Otis here is probably going to end up auto-drafting Deshaun Watson. Let's see. And they've yet to take a tight end. Good for us. Okay, so we're probably going to pass on tight ends here. Like Robert Tonyan, Albert O, Cole Kmet, David Njoku. My preference is Kmet, but it is what it is. I think we can end up getting Cole Kmet making it back to us at pick 148, especially if we look at the fact that this team here has already drafted 2 tight ends with Dallas Goedert and Pat Freiermuth. So they're going to get Deshaun Watson. So here, I think we probably go ahead and reach on a running back, or do we just take, how many wide receivers do we have? We have 5, and we're going to take 6 RBs. No, we'll reach on a running back here. One of my most drafted running backs Was not expecting to get the man at all. We're pairing him up with a rookie on the team. We're pairing him up with Breece Hall. Wasn't expecting to get a lot of Michael Carter Jr. It is what it is, though. He will have a receiving role at the beginning of the season. Then he will transition over to being a premium handcuff running back later on in the year. So we are getting guaranteed touches, and we are getting upside later on. Best Baller says, it was cool seeing you on the Face Pros. Yeah, it was a lot of fun recording that. I had a good time. Okay, so Alberto goes to the 12-11. I do think we are going to end up getting a tight end, making it back to us at pick 148, like I said. As if we look now, you have both of these teams with 2 tight ends. Cole Kmet goes. That was our guy. So it looks like we are going to end up with Njoku. Or what we could end up doing instead is we could hold off on the position, take Gerald Everett, get the stack there with Justin Herbert later on, and we could only take 7 wide receivers because when we have Jefferson, Tyreek, Keenan Allen, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, I would be fine only taking 7 receivers. So you know what? That's going to be the play. I think we almost want to take 3 tight ends regardless. So grabbing David Njoku here is not going to make a massive difference for us. So let's go ahead and instead, let's either grab a receiver or a running back with this pick. I actually really like the fact that we can pivot this. Andrew says, do I use Twitter to report someone who took 9 QBs? Yeah, I would just reach out to Underdog in any way imaginable. They have a great support staff. Just say, hey, look at this draft. This person took 9 quarterbacks. They probably have already flagged it, but I would reach out to them to be safe. Okay, we are going to go with Van Jefferson, trying to get someone that has spike week potential coming in. This is a wide receiver that I do think is going to play almost an every down role in an offense that's going to be extremely pass happy, and an offense that's going to put up a lot of points as well. And no, we don't necessarily think it's going to command a massive target share, but at the end of the day, this is a player that can have random spike weeks with the speed that you're seeing from Van Jefferson. Lee Stat says, I'd love to see a collab with you and Ray GQ. What are the chances of that happening? My man, like I said, if you want to see me collab with anybody on YouTube, what you should do is you should go to the old Twitter machine and you should tweet at them and say, bring on Mason Dodd. You should go DM them, say, hey, you got to bring on Mason Dodd. If you want to see me collab with someone, that's what you should probably do. I can't message someone, go, hey man, you know what'd be cool? Let me on your YouTube channel. That's not how it works. I can't go and invite myself on someone's channel. Okay. So David Njoku goes to pick 151. We do need to see these tight ends making it to us. Like I said, we're going to take 3 of these guys, so it doesn't matter too much here. Okay, so KJ Osborne, pick 152. Let's scroll this up. What we are hoping for is we are hoping that Hunter Henry ends up going off the board because we don't want this Otis team to... Okay, they are so far away, they're not going to be able to auto-draft him. I think really we would have to worry about them auto-drafting Higbee. Who do we want them to continue to auto? They have 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers. So they have a fairly balanced team so far. We just don't want them to get a tight end. We need to make sure that they are just donating to the pot. It would be cool if they could auto another quarterback. Like if they could auto Winston, that'd help us out. We already have our 2 quarterbacks with Herbert and Cousins. Let's go through, scroll this down. Trey says, can you explain the week 17 stack you've mentioned a couple times? Okay, so a very, very popular thing. It's going to be less important in the puppy draft than it will be in Best Ball Mania just because Best Ball Mania is so damn big. But a very popular thing that people are talking about right now in these tournament style drafts is going through and stacking week 17 game environments. So this is, I know 90% of people watching this video already know this, but if you're a professional DFS player, if you play DFS consistently, what you're trying to do is you're trying to identify games that are going to put a ton of points on the board. If you have the Packers playing the Vikings and you think that game's going to be, 38-35, it's very advantageous for you to build in correlation by, say, having an Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, then taking his receiver in Devontae Adams, and also having a bring back with the Minnesota Vikings, because for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to go nuclear, you're probably going to have the Vikings putting up some points as well. So maybe you grab Adam Thielen and you put him on that team. So people are actually building that into their drafts where they're looking at week 17 games and stacking those game environments. I'll say, I think people are going a little too crazy with it, if I'm going to be completely honest, especially because it would be very smart if nobody was thinking about it, but everybody's trying to do that in these drafts. So I think while it will help, focusing more so on creating unique roster combinations probably is a better use to your time, but people a lot smarter than me are all in on the week 17 stacks. Okay, so this may be a worst case scenario for us. Worst case scenario for us, ladies and gentlemen. We need this person to take Hunter Henry. Oh my gosh. So this Otis person is about to get to auto draft Hunter Henry. Remember, what we were wanting is we were wanting Gerald Everett to make it back to us. This team reaches 10 picks on Gerald Everett, passes on Hunter Henry, who has an ADP of 26 picks higher, or 16 picks higher, passes on Higbee. So if you would have taken Hunter Henry instead, then we would have had Everett falling back to us, who we wanted at tight end. You would have had this Otis team not auto drafting tight ends, so they would have 0 tight ends through this point of the draft. Oh. Rio says, I like Rashad due to Tampa having used numerous running backs in the past and Leonard Fournette never having played a full season. Rashad's competition is Keyshawn Vaughn and an aging Giovanni Bernard. Is Bernard even on that roster still? I thought that Giovanni Bernard was off, but I get your point, my man. I 100% get your point. We're going to go ahead and take Tyler Higbee. I guess we go back Los Angeles Rams in this draft. We are going 2, 6, 7, 3. I think we probably want to. Maybe you could make the argument that this is a team that should only draft 5 running backs. I'm just looking at our wide receiver core: Jefferson, Tyreek, Keenan Allen, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson. I feel like we can get away with it. And something that I think a lot of people are not looking into enough is how Underdog's ADP dramatically swinging up these wide receivers in the later rounds has potentially affected the viability of projecting a running back in your flex spot. Like if you can all of a sudden take, say, Brian Robinson in round 17, and Brian Robinson scores 100 points this upcoming season, compared to the wide receiver there that, yes, may have a higher volatility score week to week. So I do think there's something to potentially cutting down on the roster spots with wide receiver and not grabbing 9 receivers in every single draft. Those wide receivers at the very end are so much worse than they used to be. Let's go ahead. Let's take George Pickens. Speaking of just upside shots at receivers, let's grab another one of these rookies, fine value, falling 12 picks. And once we take Pickens here, I do think we have the shot to draft 6 RBs dependent on where the value falls. That is honestly, if we're going to title this video, New Strategy. That's the one thing that I think that maybe some people are overlooking, because everybody does the same thing in these drafts now. Everybody tries to go for a 2, 5, 8, 3 build, a 2, 5, 9, 2 build. Whereas maybe you're better off just taking a running back at the end that's going to score more points than the wide receiver. And maybe they just actually make it into your flex. Okay, so Matt Ryan, pick 173. Good thing for us. I mean, here we have enough quarterbacks on this team. We want to see these quarterbacks going so we get some more tight ends made into us. Who does Otis auto? He auto drafts KJ Hamler. So you know what? He's going to end with a pretty fine team. Pretty fine team, for not going to lie. Mark says, I think you get 3 really good running backs and you can stop at 7 wide receivers and go 3 tight ends. I'm sorry, my man. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Okay, Noah Fant, 175. We would have liked Noah Fant making it back. Noah Fant, one of my most drafted tight ends, which is very surprising. But y'all know I'm getting so many elite level tight ends. Like I'm drafting Mark Andrews. I'm drafting Kelsey. Almost every shot I get. So that naturally makes it where I am not taking those mid-round tight ends. Someone like Pat Freiermuth being the perfect example. Okay. Curtis Samuel, 176. So usually I'm taking one of those elite guys like Kelsey and waiting until the very end to getting Noah Fant. Goff 177, good for us. Jamal Williams is a running back that I actually really like taking this year because you're looking at him saying, okay, well, yeah, we know everybody wants to scream about Detroit having an elite offensive line, and DeAndre Swift is going to handle, 55% of the carries in this team's backfield? Jamal Williams will have a role on a week-to-week basis, and if something were to occur to DeAndre Swift, then he has upside for more. Okay. Sammy Watkins 179. I will be interested to see if there does become a point where Sammy Watkins is getting hyped up, where he's a 13th, 14th round selection, and then all of a sudden it's very easy to avoid him if he's going in that range. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I actually like investing in a Donovan Peoples-Jones more than I would Sammy Watkins. I'm more comfortable with Donovan Peoples-Jones having a guaranteed role this upcoming season compared to Sammy. Okay, AJ Green, 183. AJ Green, another player that I find myself taking a lot just because he is going to be getting targets at least at the beginning part of the season in a very good offense at the same time. Okay, Trey McBride, 184. Oh my gosh, interesting to see. I've never seen McBride go that high in these drafts. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of just the expected value of running backs in this range. I understand, historically speaking, you're wanting to take wide receiver and you're wanting to add extra wide receivers, as many receivers as you can to these rosters. I just think because everybody knows that, it looks like this team's on auto drafts as well. But because everybody knows that you want to be having as many wide receivers as possible, like Paris Campbell's being drafted. Paris Campbell's going before Donta Foreman in some of these drafts. Like, the raw expected points that you're looking at from Foreman compared to Campbell has to be Foreman, right? Especially even if we're talking upside. I know wide receivers inherently have the potential to swing week to week just based off big plays. But hell, CMC goes down. We've seen Donta Foreman have 20-point weekly ceilings. Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, so I think we are probably going to end up. Let's take a running back. Logan Thomas, Taysom Hill, Austin Hooper, all the same to me. Let's go ahead. Let's grab a running back. We are going to be taking Brian Robinson Jr. Just a running back, goes inside the top 100 draft picks. He's going to be squeezed. Obviously, Antonio Gibson will be the starter in front of him. And even if Antonio Gibson were to go down, the worst part about Brian Robinson is he still won't have a role as a receiver, because that is instead going to be going over in the direction of, I hate to admit it, hate to say it, but it would go over to J.D. McKissic. Okay, Logan Thomas, 193. Okay. What I'm going to need from y'all is for you to spam the chat. Who do you want out of these three players? I think I'm talking through this. I think we are going to stop taking as many wide receivers when we grab those elite level wide receivers early. We waited at the running back position. We took Breece Hall in the 5th, and then our next best running back we took at pick 100. So we're going to go 6 running backs. We're going to go 3 wide receivers. So let me see who people are saying. Okay, so Hill, Raheem Mostert, Taysom Hill, Raheem Mostert, Austin Hooper, Raheem Mostert, Taysom Hill, Raheem Mostert, Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill, Raheem Mostert. Looks like it's split 50-50. Let's go ahead and let's say Raheem Mostert. We'll do it. I wasn't drafting Raheem Mostert at all earlier this offseason. Raheem Mostert used to be going legitimately 20 picks earlier than this. And now I found myself occasionally taking him. I think the price now at least accounts for the chance that he is cut before the season starts. But I'm going to go through. I'm just going to queue up a bunch of tight ends. We are going to take one tight end and get out of here. And then we are going to hop in another draft. We have almost 250 likes on the live stream, so I have to give everybody a massive shout out. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, being a part of the flock. I told myself I was not going to be doing this many drafts, but that's what I tell myself every night. And every single night, I find a reason to hop in another one. So let's go through and let's get in this. And I will show y'all exactly when I join, in case you want to have a shot to get in. And there are 7 spots open. So 7 people will be able to get in here. The 112. Okay, but. We have some heavy hitters in this draft. Looks like we have Nick, fully loaded, J.K. Ooper, and Caden. And I'm assuming there are a couple more people watching this live stream in this draft right now. Maybe I just don't necessarily recognize their names. So please, if I did not give you a shout out on the stream and you were in this draft, let me know in the live chat. Let me know where you're picking from. Let me know your name on Underdog. Chris is still out here in the stream. Dear God, Chris. Thank you for being a part of the following, supporting the channel, my man. That is crazy. Mark says he's in the draft. Happy to have you out here, Mark. Where's Mark's name? Mark, let me know what your name is on Underdog. Caden says right next to Mason. That's going to be painful. It will be painful. Okay. Jonathan Taylor, pick 1. And Brendan says, is Taysom Hill listed as a tight end? Yes, Taysom Hill's listed as a tight end in Underdog. And there is some controversy on how valuable he actually is and like if he could be that truly elite player at the end of the season and give you that cheat code. What I will say is I would be more excited about that upside if it weren't for the fact that this team did go out and sign Andy Dalton. And honestly, I think the presence of Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback does hurt the odds that Taysom Hill ever takes snaps at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Like, even if Winston were to go down, I do think they have Andy Dalton there as that backup. William says, what's the plan? Running back, receiver, or wide receiver? Hey, why not running back, my man? Why not tight? Hey, you know what we're going to do? We're probably going to copy what we had Chris earlier in the live stream doing and going through and taking, maybe not Chris. I know it was C. Webb. I think it was Chris Webb, but maybe it was Chad Webb. I'm sorry. I forgot. But maybe we go Kelsey, Andrews at the 1-2 turn, and then go ahead and get Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. Ooh, it's crazy. Crazy what we saw from the 112 earlier this live stream. Okay, so Austin Eckler goes at pick 7. Derrick Henry at pick 8. So no real surprises so far. I mean, this has just been a very standard draft. And it's going to be hard for me to say what I'm thinking in terms of the players that I want to make it back to us whenever we're like 3 picks away, because both J.K. Ooper and Caden are a part of the flock. So if I say like, oh, I really want either one of Najee Harris or Dalvin Cook, I'm not going to take Davante Adams. Like if I said that out loud, then if Caden wants Davante Adams, he can go, okay, I don't have to take Adams here. I can pass on Adams and I could get him at pick 14. So we do have to be a little strategic in what we are willing to say. Davante Adams goes. So we would just go Dalvin and Kelsey. Let's go Dalvin Kelsey. I'm not drafting Dalvin that often this year. And I just wrote Dalvin's chapter in our draft guide. And honestly, I may be making a mistake and not drafting that much Dalvin. Yeah, they have the new coaching staff. Yeah, maybe they don't run the ball as much. But Dalvin Cook has finished as a top 10 running back every year over the past 3. I will say he's never played more than 14 games in a season. He is going into his age 27 year, which that is definitely concerning for these running backs on their second deals, of course, but you are getting a discount. Like Dalvin Cook's never gone this late in fantasy drafts, at least since 2019, he hasn't. And real quick, I know you have not heard this in about 30 seconds, so you're probably dying to hear it again, and I will please you by letting you know that you too can enjoy yourself. You can have a fun life. You can have fun every single day like I do, by drafting on Underdog Fantasy, real money fantasy football drafts. You can find the link in the description. You can find it in the comment section of the live chat. And when you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And on top of that, you will get our 2022 rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, dynasty rookie draft guide, all the crap. Y'all know it. But what you don't know is literally depositing $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK supports the channel more than you could ever believe. And I promise you, that's what makes it possible for me to commit my entire life into working on fantasy football content 80 hours a week. Okay. So we have just a very standard drive. Maybe we can point out Leonard Fournette, pick 17 is early for Fat Lenny. But I say Fat Lenny, tongue in cheek. As I said earlier in the live stream, Leonard Fournette at the age of 12 was in better shape than I will ever be and could ever be in my entire life. Okay, Swift makes it a pick 20. I have noticed DeAndre Swift falling more. Maybe it's just in the drafts that I'm in with y'all, but it literally feels like since I made the video saying, oh, don't draft DeAndre Swift, now DeAndre Swift is going after Aaron Jones in almost all of these. Mark says, J.K. Ooper is in my draft as well. He's drafting 2-1. Okay, that's what I do whenever I'm at the gym. Like this morning I was on the Stairmaster doing drafts, so I was literally in 3 drafts at once, and then once one draft ended, just hopped into another one, hopped into another one, hopped into another one. Like you can do 3 drafts at once. I tried doing it on the live stream before. I've tried doing 2 drafts at once on the live stream. It's so difficult for me to make it entertaining. Like let me know if that's something y'all would want me to try again, is to do 2 drafts on the live stream. It's just hard to set it up where I can bounce back and forth easily. Okay, so looks like these running backs are falling a little bit. The Taylor team at 1 decides to go A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen at the 2-3 turn. Dakota says, Dang Mason's still drafting. I'm off of work now. Hopefully you had a good day at work, my man. And yes, sir, I am still drafting, sweating my ass off here. I swear, these lights get hotter and hotter every day. Okay, Nick Chubb. Okay, so we have a team here going with a heavy running back approach with CMC, Alvin Kamara, and Nick Chubb. A very interesting start. What I will say is obviously when you start those 3, at the most, you can only take one more running back. Like you can only go one more running back when you start those 3, unless say you wait until the very end of the draft to grab like Brian Robinson and JD McKissick, then you can take 2. Uncle Andy says, a 24-hour draft marathon would be interesting. If we got 100,000 subscribers on this channel before the season kicked off, which we're not going to be growing in subscribers that much in June, like our subscriber growth isn't really going to start till August. But if we got 100,000 subscribers on this channel before the NFL season kicks off, and you can clip this, I'll probably say this all the time. I will go ahead and I'll do a live stream where we draft for 24 hours straight. I'll happily do that. Like if we're at like 99,500 subscribers, that could be a real cool live stream. I draft for 24 hours straight or until I hit 100,000 subs. Okay, so let's pull this over. We have Kelsey, Dalvin. So, of course, when we take Kelsey here, Patrick Mahomes will be in play for us. It will also depend on the other value that's on the board. DJ Moore goes to pick 32. J.K. Ooper went running back. I think he went Najee and then Aaron Jones. Okay. Fantasy Wizard King. A very interesting name. Has gone CeeDee Lamb and Joe Mixon through the first 2 rounds. Go James Conner, pick 33. Good. I wasn't wanting James Conner. Jerry Jeudy off the board at 34. There are 2 names I'm looking at. Caden knows who I want. Let's see what Caden does. Caden, if you want Michael Pittman, you got to take him here. I will take Michael Pittman at pick 36 if you don't. Let's see what he does. Kale says, what are your predictions for Byron Pringle? I think he probably does play a large role in Chicago. It probably doesn't matter. He goes Pittman. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get Jalen Waddle, one of my most drafted wide receivers, and Mahomes. So this will be an exciting draft where we only draft 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. Y'all know my favorite build. The 2 QB and 2 tight end build. Brandon says, draft 24 hours, question mark, you're a different breed. Hey, if we get, this is what I was thinking earlier. I literally did the math on my phone. I was driving to Costco earlier. It was already pulled up. I don't know why I cleared it. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, if we hit 100,000 subscribers before the football season starts, what would be a cool thing for me to do? I was like, oh, we'll stream for 100,000 seconds. And then I did the math on that. 100,000 seconds is 1,666 minutes. And that is 27 hours. So I was going to do that. 27 hours seems a little extreme. I will do a 24-hour draft if we hit 100,000 subs before the start of the year, though. Caden says I auto-picked on accident. Yeah, I'm sure, my man. I know you. I know you just wanted some Michael Pittman in your life. And I will say, Pittman here is more reasonable than taking him over T. Higgins. There's been a growing crowd of people telling me that you need to be taking Michael Pittman over T. Higgins, and I will not stand for it. I will not be behind it. Ooh, I cannot do that. Kevin says you'll hit 100,000 by the end of the year for sure. Yeah, I'll hit 100,000 by the end of the year, but I'm saying we need, for the 24-hour live stream, 100,000 before the season starts. 100,000 before the season starts. Dakota says about to make 36,000 burner accounts. For the love of God, I've said this before, but I want to reiterate myself. And obviously, I'm not saying this so YouTube hears me or anything. Nobody from YouTube, I don't even know if they have someone ever watching videos. But nobody's watching this. But Google has millions and millions of dollars invested in that. The algorithm. And I will tell you real quick, if you start creating fake accounts, fake Gmail accounts to subscribe to this channel or drop likes in this live stream, I will be hit with a ban quickly. So for the love of God, do not do that unless you want me to get banned. Okay. DK Metcalf pick 44. We're wanting wide receivers to make it back, but that's what will be there regardless at the 5. Actually, no, that won't be there at the 5-6 turn. Probably going to end up taking Montgomery and Josh Jacobs at the 5-6 turn. I don't know what I'm talking about. Kittle goes pick 45. Let's see. This team goes Travis Etienne, 46. Okay, so they're going to go with a hyper fragile build. One thing you have to be worried about, like if you know that Manavon, whatever their name is, if you think they know what they're doing and you see them go 4 running backs in a row, in your mind you say, okay, they don't draft another running back throughout the entire rest of the draft. But there's a big but on this. There's an outside chance they have no idea what the hell's going on. There's an outside chance that they just go ahead and they take a running back in round 5, a running back in round 6, and you really need to be ready to adjust for that. So let's see what they do in round 5. I think it will be very telling. At this point, you kind of have to go. I guess you could go with Lamar, but I'm assuming you have to go with the wide receiver. Breece Hall goes pick 50. Let's see. This is how we know if they know what they're doing, or we'll have an idea. Let me say, if they take a running back here, we'll know for sure that they are off the rails and they have no idea what's going on. Mitchell says, do you think drafting Pitts and London in the same startup is bad? No. If you like both players, if you're getting them at a value, do not be worried about taking 2 players from the same offense. Even if that offense is going to be bad, you're making a correlated bet. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Rashad Bateman, pick 51. Okay. So it looks like they are awake. Looks like they are paying attention. And they have their hands on the steering wheel here. Lamar Jackson goes pick 52. That's my favorite result of picking at the turn. Like my favorite thing, if I could lock myself into every time I'm at the 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. If I could guarantee myself George Kittle in the 4th, Lamar Jackson in the 5th, I would. Like that is such a beautiful high upside combination. Okay, let's get ready for this. The question is, if Amari falls, do we have to take Amari? Like Amari's ADP technically is 51, but if you look at where Amari's been going over the past day, like Amari Cooper's fallen down these draft boards. Like people are not too excited about the potential of Jacoby Brissett being his quarterback. Okay, Godwin goes pick 55. Y'all know I would have loved me some Chris Godwin. Juju Smith-Schuster seems like he's falling as well. which is a good thing. Like we've been saying, Juju literally is getting paid $2.5 million. Russell Gage signed a $30 million contract. Juju Smith-Schuster got $2.5 million. I know obviously contracts aren't everything, but that is pretty telling. If you look at his yards per route run, if you look at his air yards over the past 3 years, oh my God, Juju Smith-Schuster has been one of the worst NFL wide receivers. And trust me, this is coming from someone who, after he failed way back in 2019, after his historic 2018 season, like going into the 2019 season, I was screaming at people going, you're an idiot if you don't draft Juju Smith-Schuster. You have no idea what you're doing. Obviously, I was the idiot for telling people that. I was the idiot for thinking that. But I have a long pass with Juju, and I'm fine. I'm willing to throw in the towel and say Juju Smith-Schuster is most likely a bad running back. I think we've learned that lesson by now. Now, what I will say is if he falls to us at pick 60 behind his ADP on a team where we have Mahomes, we can create that double stack, we're probably taking Juju Smith-Schuster. I'll admit that. But I do want to be on the record saying I'm a grown-up now, okay? I'm a big boy. I brush my own hair. And I can admit that Juju Smith-Schuster is no longer what he was in 2017, no longer what he was in 2018. But for this one roster construction and this one roster construction only, I'm fine taking Juju Smith-Schuster in the 6th round. Let me go through and let me fill you in on how many of these leagues I've drafted Juju in. Like I said, I mean, you can go through and you can look at your exposures on Underdog. Okay, so completed. So over 150 drafts in, I've taken Juju Smith-Schuster in 5% of these drafts. Baseline expectations about 8.5%. So I'm definitely underweight on Juju Smith-Schuster. And I do not expect that to change anytime soon. Okay, so Corvette says Kamara is at risk of going to prison up to 5 years. Not likely that long, but entirely possible he does time. This is one thing I was talking about earlier today, part of the locals community. Okay, so even if, like, say you think Kamara is missing time. If you think Alvin Kamara is going to miss, say, 6-8 weeks this year, these drafts are so deep that Samaje Perine's being drafted. Devin Duvernay is going in every single one of these drafts. That's how deep these drafts are. And there have been over $1 million pumped into these drafts. Like, there's some serious cash on the line. What you would be best off doing is figuring out who the running back 2 is in New Orleans and drafting the hell out of that player if you think Alvin Kamara is going to miss that much time. Now, I personally don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I don't think Kamara misses 6 to 8 weeks. I think Kamara's probably not going to miss much time. But like I said, there's no running back 2 being drafted right now on Underdog for New Orleans. Probably one of the only teams where there's not a running back 2 being drafted. Okay. Real quick, also, let me know in the chat, who do you think the running back 2 ends up being for the New Orleans Saints? Because the running back 2 historically has actually had volume, regardless of if Alvin Kamara is there or not. I mean, remember, Latavius Murray was viable for a long time now. Alvin Kamara did bump up his usage. Like, if you go back to 2020, Alvin Kamara was averaging about 40% of the carries in New Orleans on a per game basis. This past season, that jumped up over 20%. That jumped up to like 62%. He was averaging like 18.5 carries a game. So Alvin Kamara's role in this offense has changed from what it once was. Zach Thomas says Mark Ingram gets drafted. My man, I have not seen Mark Ingram drafted in a single one of these. Let me see where Mark Ingram's ADP is. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention enough. Where is Mark Ingram? Okay, I guess he is being drafted in some of these. How old is Mark Ingram at this point? I'm unsure if this is still the case, but last offseason, Mark Ingram was the number 1 running back in the NFL in active career touches. Mark Ingram age. He's only 32. I don't want to say only 32. That's old as hell. How old is Frank Gore? Let me guess. 37, 38, 39. Ooh. Well, just turned 39, but still. Frank Gore Jr., 20 years old. Is he playing for Miami? Yeah. 179 carries this past year. Interesting. Okay, so I don't even necessarily know what we're wanting to make it back to us at the 7-8 turn. I think we have a very balanced team. I guess we could say we want wide receiver, like we want Brandon Ayuk, we want Hunter Renfrow making it back to us. Okay, so, this is interesting. Like I said, I think when you go 4 running backs in a row here on Underdog, if you're in one of these tournament-style drafts, you can't keep on taking these guys. We didn't know if this person was drafting a hyper-fragile team. We didn't know if they just were confused and didn't know the optimal roster constructions that you want for this format. And it looks like they are confused. It looks like they don't know what you want. So we need to be wary that there is a good chance, there's a good shot that team continues to draft RB. And if that team continues to draft running back, dear God, these guys are going to be soaked up. So how many running backs do we have? We have 2 running backs with Dalvin and Dobbins. We may end up taking another running back here. And real quick, we are about to pass 300 likes on the live stream. Thank you so much for everybody who's come out and joined us for this stream. If you have not done so already, please go down there and drop a like on the stream. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. Tom Brady goes to pick 79. Good for us to see these quarterbacks off the board. I mean, we have Mahomes. Okay, CJTB. They have 2 running backs, 4 receivers. They take their first tight end in Hawkinson. Good thing for us as well. We have Kelsey. I mean, maybe I would have been tempted to make an idiotic play for TJ Hawkinson if he would have fallen. Sky Moore is obviously a wide receiver that would fit our roster construction, but you know what? I don't particularly care. Whenever we already have the double stack with Juju Smith-Schuster and Patrick Mahomes, overall, I think that Sky Moore is such a bad value in these drafts. Like, if we didn't take Juju, I probably would take Sky Moore here. And I would have to go like this as I drafted him. Acted like I didn't. But when we have Kelsey, when we have Juju, I think we already have enough correlation. We're going to go Christian Kirk, and I'm going to sit here for 1 second and debate if we should grab... No, let's just go Kenneth Walker. I was debating if we should just go Russell Gage, but I am slightly concerned that you get that team here over at the end continuing to just draft running back. That'd be real tough. Matthew says, I think it's an auto draft team. Is it an auto draft team? Looking at this, who has a higher ADP, ETN or Cam Akers? I think Cam Akers has a higher ADP than Travis Etienne. Let me look at this. What's the team name that's taking all these running backs? I think it's Manavan. Yeah. Okay, so Travis Etienne's ADP is 48. Yeah, that's definitely after. That's definitely after Akers. Drag takes Akers. Yeah, Akers' ADP is 45. No, that team's not on auto. Maybe they autoed this last pick with A.J. Dillon. But I can say for a fact that pick 46, they took Travis Etienne over Cam Akers, and Cam Akers has a higher ADP. He would have been autoed Akers. Okay, so we have Dak going directly after us. Lockett, Russell Gage. Honestly, when we have 3 running backs with Dobbins, Kenneth Walker, and Dalvin Cook, I'm honestly kind of fine at the position. I wouldn't mind if this team here just continues to throw a wrench into things and continues to draft RB. We'll see. Allen Lazard goes to pick 90. I'm fine if people want to go through and make the argument that based on the connection he already has with Aaron Rodgers, based on the rapport that's been built in, you need to be taking Allen Lazard over Christian Watson. I'm fine if you want to have that. statement, even though I'll say if you look at yards per route run, I mean, Allen Lazard's honestly kind of proven to be a bad wide receiver. We don't know if Christian Watson's bad. But to take Allen Lazard rounds before Christian Watson, that's where I don't agree. I know people aren't massive fans of Watson. Just very tough for me to do that. Sky Moore finally goes off the board at pick 91. It's a more reasonable price point for Sky Moore than going off the board in the middle of the 7th like he usually does. Like I said, I just think I'm not going to have much Sky Moore this year. Dallas Goedert, Trey Lance. Zachary says, just realized my 3 running backs all have the same bye. Honestly, one thing that I do not care about too much at all on Underdog is going to be looking at those bye weeks. There's so much of your expected value, like so much of the importance of the season, honestly, just comes down to what you're going to be seeing in weeks 15, 16, and 17. Nobody has a bye week during then. So I'm not going to be overthinking it when it comes to buys. Brandon says, the Green Bay wide receiver situation is so frustrating. I honestly think there's a lot of value to be had. What sucks is I'm never really drafting wide receivers in the range of where Christian Watson goes. Like, I'm sitting here. Let me pull up my phone and see exactly how many drafts I've taken Christian Watson in. It's not too many. Let me look at this. Christian Watson, I've taken him in 9% of drafts, which is about average for a player. But it's not necessarily like I don't like Watson. I think in terms of the wide receiver value, he is a great value overall. It's just very tough for me to do whenever usually I'm punting on running back and we need to be going like Melvin Gordon. We need to be going like Chase Edmonds there. Okay, MVS goes pick 98. I'm sorry also, guys. This is our 3rd draft. And last stream I did 4 drafts. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. We're 2 hours in. We are 2 hours in, ladies and gentlemen. If we're 2 hours in, this is our 4th draft. I think. Maybe it's our 3rd. I don't know. It's our 3rd or 4th. I can't keep on doing 2-3 hour live streams. I literally will lose my voice and lose my stamina. We're going to be doing this until the season kicks off. So I think I'm going to go ahead and make these 2 picks and then finish this draft off. But here, Monavon ends up taking Cordell Patterson. So they just don't know what they're doing. Thank God we took Kenneth Walker at pick 85. As that running back room is going to be dried up overall. Kareem Hunt goes pick 101. Let's pull this up. And I will prepare for these next 2 picks. Singletary goes at the 906. We have a very balanced team. We only need to draft 5 running backs with this team, so it's not even that big of a deal if we don't get a running back here. Dawson Knox at the 908. Fantasy Wizard King on the clock. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Claypool, best players available. Chris Olave at pick 105. Garrett Wilson after. Okay, so we are going to get one of James Cook or Chase Edmonds. Christian Watson goes. Based on what Manavon, whatever their name's doing earlier. I'm not doing this in the majority of drafts, but you have to pay attention to your draft room. We're going to double up on these running backs. We're going to have our 5 running backs through the first 10 rounds. Here we'll be drafting 2 QBs, 2 tight ends, 9 receivers. I think the wide receiver, it almost makes me want to continue to do this live stream to show off the wide receiver value that we're going to be getting later on in this draft. Just because these running backs are going to be pushed up. This team has CMC, Kamara, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, A.J. Dillon, and Cordell Patterson all on the same team. Oh, we are going to get these guys pushed up. But thank you again. I truly do appreciate y'all. And as always, if you want to get in our next draft, we do this every single day. We do this every single night. Just go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the live chat. Go join Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. You'll get our 2022 rankings, a 100% deposit match. Most importantly, you will support this channel more than literally with a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK. Support this channel more than you'd ever believe. That's all I got for you. I appreciate you. I truly do. Thank you for coming out, hanging out with me tonight. And yeah, hope you have a great night. Hope we get to see you with the